So remember, before break, we began Module 2, and we were learning about how and why writers play with words. We talked about wordplay, and wordplay is the playful or clever use of words to create humor. And we saw that you can do this using figurative language, puns, jokes, and other ways. We've been reading The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster, and he has been using wordplay in each setting and with different characters, showing wordplay with their names. For example, we met the Lethargians, which is a play on the word lethargy, which means super tired, and the Lethargians were falling over, sleeping, and just silly little beings. We've also seen that with the name of characters like Talk, where he is a watchdog, literally a dog that has a watch on him, and he is always keeping people on time. So in this book, we have noticed a lot of wordplay. When we left off, we read chapter 12 and chapter 13, and we have been taking notes in our virtual notebooks. And the summary for this last set was that the people living in the Valley of Sound wanted to be able to hear sounds again, but the sound keeper had locked away all the sounds. So Milo went to her fortress and stole a sound. Then Milo used the sound to help destroy the fortress and release sound back into the valley. So remember, we've been using this map to track his voyage along the way, and he started in his town. He got into the toll booth, and he has been on this route. He was originally headed for Dictionopolis, but when he got to Dictionopolis, he was given a new task. He needs to get to the castle in the air and to release rhyme and reason back into the lands beyond. So he is now at the Valley of Sound, and he has been to the Soundkeeper's fortress. Remember, he is headed to the Mountains of Ignorance over here to save rhyme and reason. We learned about all the things he needs to do in order to make that happen. He needs to first stop in Digitopolis and get the approval of the king. He needs to cross through the Mountains of Ignorance and get past the demons. He needs to go up the super steep, scary spiral staircase and get to Rhyme and Reason, convince them to come with him, get down, go back through the demons, and get out of the Mountains of Ignorance and restore Rhyme and Reason. So this is where we are along the way. At the end of the chapter, we learned that Milo got another gift. So he's received 3 gifts now. He got a book of all the words from King Azaz. He got a telescope from Alec Bings. And let's remind ourselves what he got from the Soundkeeper. But he started to say, and got no further than that, this is how he broke down the fortress. He saved a word in his lips. It was still trapped in his mouth. And while I mustn't keep you all day, she said impatiently, now turn your pockets out so I can see you didn't steal anything and you can be on your way. When he had satisfied the Soundkeeper, he nodded his farewell, for it would have been most impractical to say thank you or good afternoon, and raced out the door. He didn't actually say anything because he wanted to keep that word in his mouth so he could put it in the cannon and launch it against the fortress. So again, we are looking at the gift that the Soundkeeper gives. Can anyone use these sounds? He puffed, mopping his forehead. They all came over the hill at once, and none of them are awful enough for me. The Soundkeeper peered into the sack, and there were all the sounds which had burst from the vaults. How nice of you to return them, she cried happily. You and the doctor must come by for an evening of beautiful music when my fortress is repaired. The thought of it so horrified the din that he excused himself immediately and dashed off down the road in a great panic. I hope I haven't offended him, she said with some concern. He only likes unpleasant sounds, volunteered Talk. Ah, yes, I keep forgetting that many people do, but I suppose they are necessary, for you'd never really know how pleasant one is unless you knew how unpleasant it wasn't. If only Rhyme and Reason were here, I'm sure things would improve. That's why we're going to rescue them, Milo said. proudly. "What a long, hard journey that will be. You'll need some nourishment," she cried, handing Milo a small brown package neatly wrapped and tied with string. "Now remember, they're not for eating, but for listening, because you'll often be hungry for sounds as well as food. Here are street noises at night, train whistles a long way off, dry leaves burning, busy department stores, crunching toast, creaking bed springs, and of course, all kinds of laughter. There's a little of each, and in far-off lonely places, I think you'll be glad to have them." "I'm sure we will," replied Milo gratefully. "Just take this road to the sea and turn left," she told them. "You'll soon be in Digitopolis." And almost before she had finished, they had said goodbye and left the valley behind them. The shoreline was peaceful and flat, and the calm sea bumped it playfully along the sandy beach. In the distance, a beautiful island covered with palm trees and flowers beckoned invitingly from the sparkling water. "I hope we reach Digitopolis soon," said Milo, thinking of the breakfast they hadn't eaten. "I wonder how far it is." So that's where we left off. Today we are going to continue reading at chapter 14. So go ahead and take a minute and open up your virtual notebook to chapter 14. Remember that good readers are always thinking as they are reading. So I am going to take a second and I am going to make a prediction. What do I think happens in this next chapter? So I am going to go ahead and start writing. So remember that we are also continuing to annotate as we read. If I need to annotate, I can simply press draw at the top of my notebook. I can use the type button, or I can highlight, I can draw lines. So remember, as I annotate, I'm looking for 5 things. I'm looking for who, what, when and where, and what I notice and what I wonder. So let's go ahead and start off together and see what we can do. The dodecahedron leads the way. Up ahead, the road divided into 3, and as if in reply to Milo's question, an enormous road sign pointing in all 3 directions stated clearly, Digitopolis, 5 miles, 1,600 rods, 8,800 yards, 26,400 feet, 316,800 inches, 633,600 half inches, and then some. "Let's travel by miles," advised the humbug. "It's shorter." So I noticed that Digitopolis seems to have a lot of math. "Let's travel by miles." "Let's travel by half inches," suggested Milo. "It's quicker." "But which road should we take?" asked Talk. "It must make a difference." As they argued, the most peculiar little figure stepped nimbly from behind the sign and approached them, talking all the while. "Yes, indeed it does. Certainly, yes, it does make a difference, undoubtedly." He was constructed, for that's really the only way to describe him, of a large assortment of lines and angles connected together into one solid, many-sided shape, somewhat like a cube that had all its corners cut off and then had all its corners cut off again. Each of the edges was neatly labeled with a small letter, and each of the angles with a large one. He wore a handsome beret on top, and peering intently from one of his several surfaces was a very serious face. Perhaps if you look at the picture, you'll know what I mean. When he reached the car, the figure doffed his cap and recited in a loud, clear voice, "My angles are many, my sides are not few. I'm the dodecahedron. Who are you?" So we have a new character. I'm going to highlight this because it explains who he is, what he looks like, so that I can add it to my character chart. "What's a dodecahedron?" inquired Milo. who was barely able to pronounce the strange word. "See for yourself," he said, turning around slowly. "A dodecahedron is a mathematical shape with 12 faces." Just as he said it, 11 other faces appeared, one on each surface, and each one wore a different expression. So I'm seeing some wordplay here. Take a second and review what we just read and make some inferences about this character. Go ahead and open up your character chart for the dodecahedron, and let's add to the wordplay. What is the wordplay here? Well, the dodecahedron just explained that a dodecahedron is a shape with 12 sides. And this character has 12 faces, and each face has a different expression. Go ahead and add some text evidence and write an inference about those things, what you know about the dodecahedron, based off of what you read. Then go ahead and continue through chapter 14, annotating what you notice, what you wonder, and who, what, where.